Hey, welcome back to Score on Business. I'm Pete Hendricks, and we're back with our guest, Joel Fay. And Joel, right before we broke, I was asking you, or saying a lot of entrepreneurs and small businesses don't have a sales background. What are some basic things that they can do?
You bet. I think one of the things that is a key is to walk in the shoes of your customer. Help understand why it is that your customer will want your good stuff. Could be that you have a problem that needs to be you're solving for them. It could be that your product is cheaper, maybe faster to use, could be more effective to use. But getting into their shoes is a big deal. And when you do that, and when you really understand why they would buy your product, then that kicks in to say, how will you sell it? Is it going to be sold on a local level, a national level, a worldwide level? And once you figure that out, then beget some questions. Are you going to sell it face-to-face? Are you going to sell it through the web? Is it going to be something that is in some type of retail distribution? Are you selling your product to a company that embeds it in some product that they do? It's a whole list of questions, and once you understand that whole flow of how someone will buy, that's very helpful, I think, to an entrepreneur to understand how to sell the thing. One of the things that I'll give you a tip that sounds kind of silly. You want a silly tip?
I'm good for a silly tip.
The tip is, if you're within 3 feet of someone, talk to them. And talk to them about the product that you're trying to sell as an entrepreneur. Now, you can ask them, say, what do you do, to start the conversation. But it's amazing what's happened. You often are in places where many people will be wanting your particular product. And as you get those conversations rolling, maybe they won't be the eventual buyer, but maybe a friend of theirs will. And you know, there's that concept of 6 degrees of separation from everyone in the world.
Yeah.
Here in Nashville, you know, some people say it's 2 degrees of separation. But one of the things that we have to realize is people buy products and services for their own reasons. And we have to figure out what those reasons are for us to be truly effective.
I would call that sage advice. Okay, so most people, and this rolls right into our next question, most people tend to view the world through their eyes. How does this hurt an entrepreneur that's really excited about their offering?
Yeah, I see it as a double-edged sword. On one side, the entrepreneur is excited and plowing ahead with that particular idea, and that's a good thing, because those entrepreneurs need to grab a hold of it and be persistent when no one else would. On the flip side, though, it seems that it's possible for entrepreneurs to not get the dollars right or the mechanics right, or it's very possible to overbuild a product. And if you overbuild a product, there comes extra costs that you really don't need, and it could end up as a product that doesn't have a market because of the cost that you have to charge.
Right.
I saw one entrepreneur who priced their product at $60. And $60 would be an okay price, but the competition for something very similar was more like $20. And this entrepreneur based the price of $60 on the assumed costs and how many he would be selling. So he took a bath on that one, so to speak.
Right. It touches bases. What I think I'm hearing, it really touches bases back to putting yourself in their shoes. They're going to be the decision maker. What are their criteria?
You bet. I think you're going to make memorable mistakes along the way, too.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's okay. Memorable mistakes are learning type things. And what I would recommend is have a smart team. As an entrepreneur, just don't do it alone. Make sure you have someone who's fiscally responsible, someone who maybe has been in the business for a while too, and can help you understand what's needed to sell that particular product, whether it's whatever techniques you're going to use in whichever markets you're going to use. So
that makes a lot of sense.
So
okay,
yeah.
so we've got a little over a minute
Okay.
left. How much should a business owner talk when interacting with a prospective customer?
Okay, I got to tell you, I went to lunch with a salesperson once, and I understood he was going to talk a lot. He did. I looked at my watch, and it was an hour and 15 minutes later before he stopped and asked me a question. He didn't learn anything about me. I learned a lot about him, and I didn't buy. What we do is we talk about, it's more of a 70-30 thing. If you're talking more than 30%, you're probably not selling. So that means you have to listen about 70% of the time, and to be able to ask good questions that enable you to understand why people would want to buy that resource.
If the customer isn't talking, how could you possibly learn?
Agree.
Yeah, so that makes me think about, and okay, well, we'll go ahead and use this as a break. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this week with Score on Business, and we'll be back next week.